Oh, good start.
We are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. You can find us at Plus One EXP across pretty much all social media platforms. We're a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. And this is our TroikaFest launch party. We should probably all be really enthusiastic right now and make everybody excited. That's probably a good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are going to be doing a giveaway during this stream. Somebody just tried to enter it, so I'm going to go ahead and kick it live. We're going to be giving away a copy of Troika's Numinous edition, the current edition. You can go ahead and type in !quack if you want to win a copy of that. That's in special thanks to the people who are hosting our community chat this week, the Quackalope Discord called The Paddle. You can find a link to that by typing in ! I think Discord, but maybe not. We are just going to hop on real quick, introduce you to some great people, talk a little bit about Troika, ask who would win in some fist fights, and then kind of get on with the rest of our day. But I'm going to let people introduce themselves because I always think it's weird for me to try to memorize information about other people that they have readily available in their heads. Like I said, I'm Tony Vicinda. You can find me at Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP. This channel or our YouTube channel are both great places to go for all of the official TroikaFest content. I will be doing a couple streams tonight, streaming Academies of the Arcane, which is the current Kickstarter that is live and well-funded over on Kickstarter. You can type in !KS to find out more about that. How do you know if you joined the giveaway? That's a great question. I'll check whenever somebody else is introducing themselves to make sure everything's working properly on the back end. But if you try to type in Quack again, it'll tell you did something bad if you were already entered, and it'll shame you. But I'm going to kick it over off the top to Dan Sell. Dan, do you want to introduce people to yourself, tell them who you are, and let them know a little bit about what you do?
Hello, I'm Daniel Sell, and I wrote Troika and run the Milsonian Arts Council, which is a publisher of role-playing books.
Awesome.
There you go.
Sweet. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find us at milsonia.com and on all of the social medias that we're required to be on. And that's it. Yes. Oh, and well, obviously on Kickstarter as well, because, you know.
And right before we started, Dan was trying to figure out if he should put up a fake background or not. But I said, just let everybody see the majesty of what it means to be the publisher of the world's other most popular or the other world's most popular tabletop RPG. And so next up, we've got right below Dan, we've got Luke Gearing. Luke, go ahead and tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online.
Yes, so I'm Luke. I'm a writer, and I've written some stuff for Dan. So we Fever Swamp and ADF, sort of most notably, as well as some other stuff for some other people. Potentially talk about that later. And I'm best found on Twitter, being annoying, at Luke Gearing. There is a blog, but the links are all on Twitter, so that's probably your best bet.
There we go. Awesome. Apparently, I don't have a shame set up, a thing to shame you if you enter the giveaway twice. It won't work, but I don't have anything set up to shame you. And then last but not least, we've got Brian. Brian, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you on the internet.
I'm Brian Yaksha. You can find me at Goatman's Goblet on Twitter and at Blogspot. Let's see, I wrote Raquel and a bunch of other stuff. I wrote Academies of the Arcane, which is on Kickstarter right now. And that's really all I got going on.
Just
that milkshake's taking it out of me right now. Really
yeah, we some of us, you know, we party with you know, a beer or a glass of wine, or, you know, Brian had a milkshake, and it's
it's 3 p.m. It's a little crazy. Early for other celebrations.
So.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm going to just ask you gentlemen, maybe I'd love to hear this from each of you, and we'll go in reverse order, because I think that'll be more fun. For people who may never have heard of it before, for the 40-ish people who are watching right now, what is Troika? Like, we're giving away a copy of Troika if people type in !Quack. But Brian, if you had to tell somebody what Troika is, we're going to go to Dan last on this. what would you tell people Troika is?
Uh, a fighting fantasy derivative with various Britishisms with regards to design and anti-canonical narrative portent.
Awesome. Luke, have you had to elevator pitch somebody Troika? How would you elevator pitch somebody Troika?
I was just gonna say it's good, which is somewhat put to shame now. So yeah, it's like, you only need like 2d6, which is pretty sick. Yeah, and it's got some really fun backgrounds, and it's really easy to write for. I don't think I've ever seen a game where so many people have read it and been like, "Whoa, I can write something." I mean, there's even some people who've written backgrounds for it, which are like classes, kinda, without having read the book, which I think says something special about the kind of aura it gives off. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Is the short version.
I love that. And then Dan, how would you describe Troika? What's your elevator pitch for Troika when people ask?
I don't know. I've been taking this to conventions for what, like 3 years now. I still don't have one. Yeah, I mean, I usually have to describe it in genre terms, which is, science fantasy and whatnot to sell to people. But realistically, I wrote it for the reasons that Luke was talking about, because I like to write in this way, and it seems that other people do as well, which is great. I'm really pleased. It's yeah, the ability to break down large ideas and place them together again in interesting ways is the main thing, I think.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited. It's really funny. I was telling everybody, right before we started that this is my second time talking to Brian, my first time talking to Dan, my first time talking to Luke. And it was really funny how this entire thing started. We started TroikaFest because our friend Jarrett was like, "Hey, will you cover some Troika stuff on your stream? And, like, how can we engage you in doing some Troika content on the channel?" And I was like, here's the thing. I love Troika. I'll be honest. I've never played Troika. And I still, because we started having a conversation about running TroikaFest, decided not to play Troika. So my first time playing Troika will be tonight. It is a game that I buy the books when they come out. It sits on the shelf. I pull it down and read it on a fairly regular basis. I love the evocative language of the backgrounds. I love the system itself, the simplicity of it, the way the different individual pieces come together, and have already outlined a ton of ideas for how I want to play Troika. But exactly to Luke's point, I was like, I haven't played it before, but I'm super excited to write and design and create. I have a friend who regularly appears on our streams, Alex Murray, who we're going to hop on Friday and just start from a couple ideas on a piece of paper and design our TroikaFest Jam supplement live on air. He's never designed games before. He hasn't played Troika before. I'll have played it twice by that point in time. But the system is incredibly simple. We were having an argument yesterday in the Minimalist RPG group about whether Troika is minimalist or not. And there's never a good answer to that question when somebody says, is this something or is it not, for the most part. Yeah, so we launched TroikaFest really to give people like me an opportunity to play Troika for the first time. People like Dan and Brian and Luke, the opportunity to say, hey, I love Troika, or I've written for Troika before, but I want to make more stuff or share Troika with other people. And so TroikaFest is just a week. It's not like Dan, how many things have you done to make TroikaFest happen besides this stream?
Oh, I mean, I said yes to a couple of things, I think, along the way. That was pretty intense.
Yeah. The concept being, what would it look like for a publisher and a couple content creators to get together and say, hey, how do we encourage people to play a system that a lot of us love, but we know a lot of people own and haven't played for the first time? And TroikaFest is kind of the result of that. And so people in the chat saying there's a long tradition of people writing backgrounds for Troika without reading the book. The best thing about Troika is that it really makes you want to make stuff for it. Somebody said they took a look at some of the reviews for Troika, never played it, but they love the weirdness of it. It gives them Terry Pratchett vibes also too. So it's just a cool system. It's something that we're really excited to be able to share with people. I'm really excited to explore. So Brian, you did the Academies of the Arcane Kickstarter. You're the primary writer on that, which is live on Kickstarter right now. It's currently sitting at $13,651, which is some amount of pounds. Right? It's some amount of pounds, whatever that happens to be. Uh, and so
Some.
approximately 3 times whatever the goal was is what it's creeping up on. Tell people a little bit about Academies of the Arcane.
Academy of the Arcane is just me writing a bunch of randomizers as I'm wont to do. 36 new backgrounds, which were sort of me trying to extrapolate on setting assumptions from core Troika and also just things that I came up with while I was cat sitting for my brother up in Queens. And 90 spells, and I as someone who does not enjoy allowing any of my players to ever play magical users, that's far more spells than I thought I had in me. Uh, good, good book. Please buy it. I'm graduating from grad school soon, and I have but amount of dollars, and I would like to have more than that.
There we go. And most important question: which of the 4 houses are you most excited about? Which one are you? House Rylan Wake, Dreamcleaver, Lopped Head, or I can't Richterworm?
I feel as though I should not answer that because then there will be appearance of bias.
I mean, Dan already got online and blasted one of the houses, so I mean,
I'm an impartial observer to this entire.
You can't be an impartial observer if you're taking blasts. I will be a true impartial observer and say, I don't know, like Lopped Head. It's fun to say.
There we go. All right, Luke, I'll start with that question for you. Which house do you think you fall into? Rylan Wake, Dream, Lop-Headed, or?
I've not had the chance to actually back it yet because I was cooking dinner just before this. I'm gonna say Dreamcleaver has probably the sickest logo, so I'm gonna have to go with them. Although the dead elephant is also pretty rad. Yeah. It's a toss up. I'm gonna go Dreamcleaver. I think.
Dan, you didn't necessarily say which house you were on Twitter, but you definitely did say that a elephant could absolutely smash a mosquito. I believe was your
no, other way around. A giant mosquito would defeat a gem vomiting elephant. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, man. Just saying. I mean, hypothetically,
objectively.
Yeah, hypothetically. Yeah. Hypothetically, objectively true. Yes.
Yeah, I'm 100%. Team Dreamcleaver also, though. Lopped-Headed was hyper attractive. That's the house that I backed at, which is awesome. So one of the things in this, and we're actually going to play Academies tonight live on the stream. Jarrett's going to come on and run that for a group of us. So you'll get to see our school, our houses, hear about our uniforms, all the different things that the book helped him randomly generate. But we'll get to play with some of the new backgrounds also too. So I am playing as the child of Adapa, if I'm pronouncing that right, which I am super excited about. But there is another one that I really wanted to play that somebody else grabbed, which is I can't remember. It's an onomatopoeia-based thing where all your spells are like bang, boom, like different sounds, and it is a buck wild background that I am absolutely thrilled about. And it was one of my top 3. All the ones that Jarrett picked for tonight were great. Just like every Troika background, every single one I read got me more and more and more excited. So if you haven't gotten to back it yet, you can type an !KS in the chat, and it'll bring you straight to that action. As a matter of fact, I'll just do it for y'all so that everybody has that link. Nobody has to be put on the spot. You can go straight to the Academies of the Arcane and check it out if you have not yet. No, I'm super excited about it. I hope people go check it out. It's not the reason we did TroikaFest, but we did pick TroikaFest around the time it would be launching because we wanted people to be able to check it out and see all the cool stuff that's coming out. Brian and I talked about it a couple weeks ago, and then Dan is going to be back on tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit more about designing for Troika and other stuff like that. I think the question I have for each of y'all before we close out and pick our winner. Luke's and Brian's names probably are messed up on one of the things. Here, let's go back to the one where they're not messed up. I think.
Good trade for a bit.
They're very small on my screen. No, so what if people are playing Troika for the first time? And then I'm going to ask you the same question about design, but we'll whip back around for that one. people are this week. People are taking the time to play Troika for the first time, whether that's in one of the open games on the Discord that we have, if that's at a game at home, that's online in some other capacity. What's some advice you might have for a first-time player? Luke, let's start with you.
Probably just like lean in. Basically, like you're gonna get a background, and it's gonna be weird at first because normally, you're like, oh, I'm gonna build my character. I've got these feats, these skills, whatever. Whereas you just get given a background. Just play the background and let yourself be surprised by what they would do. Kind of let the let the background do some of the steering for you, and lean in on whatever it is they're doing. If they're kind of comedic, go for it. If they're kind of a bit more serious, like let yourself be the straight man for that sort of game. Just have fun with it, and don't worry too much about any kind of expectation that background has built up for you, because part of the fun of Troika is bucking that trend and being like, no, actually my chaos warrior is really nice. That's fine, that's cool, like whatever you want to do with it, it's a toy for you to play with.
That's awesome. Brian, how about you?
Let's see. John Battle did a really good video on just sort of explaining the general conceit of Troika, which I would say is decent recommended viewing if you just sort of want to grok what it's all about.
That's actually, if you go to TroikaRPG.com, it's you scroll down the page a little bit, it is right.
Oh yeah,
tab on the
yeah, it's
page
hosted there.
This video that people are looking at right now is the video we're talking about.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would say, don't take it too seriously, but also don't not take it seriously. It's the weirdness of trying to ground the. So there's a difference between the absurd and what people like to consider to be gonzo, and you need to have a baseline for absurdity for something to deviate from it enough to be like, that's strange. And I feel like Troika does a relatively good job of baselining assumed absurd assumptions. And so I guess think like this. Playing a monkey monger is not an inherently funny thing because that's a normal job in this universe. But, if you're a monkey monger and you're trying to bribe your way into a hotel where there are baboons working the elevators and stuff, you are now in a notably absurd gonzo type situation where, like, where does your due diligence with regards to your job factor into this? So, just think of the logical progression from the absurd state that you're in.
There we go. Awesome. And then Dan, how about you? First time players, what's some good advice to be aware of?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with everyone else here. It's like I find that the important thing is to allow yourself to believe what you're involved in, not to look at it wryly from the outside, but to stand inside what you're doing, to be who you are and what you are, and resist kind of resist looking at your situation from the outside, and it'll be a lot more fun, and it'll pay dividends as well, because I find that when you take the moment seriously, when you're looking back on it, it is more precious and interesting. That these things were real when they happened, and now we're remembering them, and they are profoundly silly.
I love it. We've got the TroikaFest jam that's going on right now also too, which it's 4 days in, there's 35 entries already. We've got a ton of awesome projects. We've got, I will give a shout out. I was trying to get the music all queued up beforehand and couldn't figure out how to get it to work. Purple Bonbon, which is #1 right now, as far as downloads go. For it is Philip Reed's Troika Wave project that he's also launching a Kickstarter for later this week, because Philip Reed decides to launch a Kickstarter project once a month and then just does it. For fun, guys. And so check out that project. There's also a ton of other great projects. So for people who want to design in Troika, for people who maybe are dipping their toes in whether they've played the system before or not, what would be some of your advice for maybe a first-time designer who's stepping in? What are some things to be aware of, some things to think about, or to consider? Dan, let's start with you, since you were the first person to design in Troika.
Right. The design thing. Well, I mean, I think you could come at Troika any way you like. I mean, if you're trying to aim for the tone of the core book, that's a different thing. But again, it's like the plane. It's like how do I put it? Like designing for Troika, it's like taking that kind of recipe that would you normally be reserved for jokes, that kind of juxtaposing two interesting things, and then that creates a friction, which is. I mean, but it's instead of it being a joke, which is like the friction is funny, the friction is just a friction that happens. You put the two things together, something pops out, and you're like, oh, I didn't expect that. That's all right. Next one, and then you just do it again and again, and you just keep doing it, and then it kind of self-selects for being interesting and also very personal as well, because the way you have to design for that, it needs to entertain you, because otherwise you're just going to be bad at it and it's going to be boring. And so that means that everything you make is just going to be very you and very peculiar. Yeah.
I love that. Actually, I'm looking forward to diving into that a little bit with you more tomorrow about that personal reality in the design. So I'll look forward to chatting with you more about that. Luke, you are the author of Acid Death Fantasy, right? Which is already available. And I've got an extra copy we're going to be giving away later on this week, along with a whole bunch of other times we'll be doing giveaways. Basically, if a stream launches, you should come watch, because the likelihood we're going to give something away is pretty high. And so if you haven't hit follow, do that. I guess that's my sales pitch for that. But also, people, Acid Death Fantasy is much beloved by a lot of people in the Troika community. I feel like everything that Melsonian puts out, it becomes an instant fan favorite. Tell us a little bit about what your recommendations would be for people who are maybe designing for the first time in Troika.
The big thing, I think I was accidentally clever once, and it was when I said that Troika's generic in its specificity. Like, just be really specific. Don't be afraid of that, because everything's so specific and so itself that when you zoom right out, there's kind of everything's there. So I would say, yeah, just be super specific. Like, don't worry about like, oh, what if someone does want to play this background? Then they'll roll another one. It's fine. But for the one person who's like, whoa, that's really cool, that's really sick, you've made their game. So yeah, just be super specific. Don't worry about balance. Don't worry about a lot of the other kind of things that kind of weigh you down in other games. Just be, this is what it is, and just be specific about what you want to do. And I think you'll come out with something that's really cool.
Awesome. Sweet. And Brian, Academies is up live right now. Funding, obviously, you have designed for Troika also too. And I also know that you and I talked about it a little bit last week, but if somebody's designing for Troika for the first time, for the TroikaFest Jam, or just sitting down at a table, what would be your kind of piece of advice for them?
Well, Luke stole it. I was going to talk about specificity and how that specificity can play into like really examining something that you like. Like there's a background in Academies, which I believe is still titled Murder Man of the High Halls of Wizardry, where you're essentially just making a slasher movie villain. And I'm way deep into horror for a lot of bad reasons, because fell into it way too early in life. But it's like, okay, what makes a slasher movie monster? And what are the tropes that we associate silly things like the whole, running at a walking gate kind of stuff. It's like, okay, so you got to take that, you got to think of what makes this silly, what makes this iconic, and allow someone to play this as farcically as they want or as straight as they want. And you stole my thunder, Luke. Right out from under me.
Sorry, man.
Early today on the paddle Discord, somebody was saying, "Oh man, they looked and it looks like there's so much that's already been created for Troika that they couldn't figure out why they should design." And my response to them was like, "I guarantee you, no matter how much you think somebody, like if somebody picked and did something of the exact same title as you, the likelihood that you would do it in the same way as they would is so negligible." Like I love the conversation around specificity as such an important point of this, because and the personal reality of it. Like somebody earlier this week, like we're gonna work on an alchemy supplement, because I thought that would it's good. It's part of our brand. It's also like a big part of like it's a great connection to Academies and what's happening in Troika right now. And so I was sitting down, and then somebody else is like, "Oh, I'm putting out a bunch of stuff for alchemy," and I was like, "That's great." Like I wasn't like, oh man, they put it out. They beat me to making a third-party supplement for Troika Alchemy. So what? Like they're doing kind of a Wild West traveling salesman. We're doing more of a classic like science fantasy alchemy. I'm super excited to see what both of them are, see where the overlap is, see what's different. And so I think no matter what somebody else has done, if there's something you're excited about that you love, even if it's looking at somebody else's something and thinking I would have done this differently, then go and do it differently, and then pop it up on itch for nothing or for $3 or whatever, and just see how people respond to it and see what comes of it. And so Jared's in the chat says there's like 4 different sets of space travel rules for Troika and they're all great. Because there's some of the anti-canon pieces, some of the other things. Somebody the other day in a chat was like, hey, my favorite thing about Troika is the setting, and we were all like, what do you mean by your favorite thing about Troika is their setting? They're like, well, like Troika City, the whole thing. And I was like, but it's not like it's there's no canon to the setting. It is. And it's also, I think the most interesting thing to me is anyone who's played a game of Troika will talk about things that happen in their Troika game as if they were canon, because the experiences are so visceral and real. And so people will say things like they're canon because it's what their experience is. And I love that insider outsider quality. Like once you've played Troika, that becomes a thing that you're just like, oh yeah, it's like this, and you know exactly what it's like because you've done it. And until you picked up those dice and told that story, it didn't happen. And so I absolutely love all that. So we are going to be doing a giveaway in just 1 second. If you haven't yet, type an exclamation point quack to get entered into that. I'm going to go ahead and close that off in just 1 second. But I know that for each of y'all, a big part of TroikaFest was light touch for everybody. But if y'all had to encourage people like to try one thing this week, or one thing that you might be excited to see come out of this week of play in TroikaFest, what would that be? Luke, let's start with you.
I mean, I just want to see someone make something really, really weird. Like every time, it's like I've seen like people write a background that's like, "Oh yeah, that you're a truck." It's like, what? It's like, yeah, you just play a truck, a sentient truck, or like you're a bunch of pudding that's hallucinating reality. The weirder the better for me. Like, and I want to see like multiple different tones as well. Like that's the thing that's really fun with Troika. It supports so many different things. Like you can play ADF super straight and have it be pretty gnarly and pretty like miserable, or you can play it like kind of goofy and kind of fun. There could be a talking truck. Do you know what I mean? Like you can play Troika so many different ways. So I want to see people do interesting and weird stuff with content and tone. Yeah, that's what I want to see from
Awesome.
TroikaFest.
Brian, how about you? What's something you would love to see people experience or do this week with Troika?
Let's see. Well, if I could recommend a product that I know has been submitted to TroikaFest and it's also currently in a bundle to help this South American designer who's fighting COVID. Any of the Bactos stuff from Roll for Terisk.
God, so good.
It's really solid, great illustrations, just perfectly hitting the most comedic sort of tone you could get.
What's the title of that project? I'll pull it up and show it to people real quick so they can make sure.
Let's see. It's well, I mean, there's Bacto's Terrifying Cuisine, The Moon King Wants to Party, just things with names like that. But yeah, just if you want to run a cooking show dungeon in Troika, that's a good thing for it. I would say find an adventure that has a weird gimmick to it and then throw these oddball background characters into that sort of situation. If you run the Blank Mage and Thistle, maybe they win tickets to go be on a cooking show and now they're being tortured in hell because that's a cooking show. Like just embrace the weirdness that's out there and embrace the fact that you can make something just as silly, just as unique.
Awesome. And then Dan, I'm going to kick it to you. What is one thing that you would love to see this week during TroikaFest?
I would like to see people. I hope this helps some people be less intimidated by it. Some people see it as being far smarter than it is. It's like just I hope people get a bit loose and just enter it bodily.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited. It's really funny. Everybody's been, in a lot of the different places on Twitter, on Facebook, like in the Discord, have been like, well, I've never played it before. Are there tables that are open to first timers? And really, if it's a scheduled game, if it's up on the Discord, like it's open to first timers. If it's not, like if it's like pro Troika gamers only for some weird reason, like that'll be clearly delineated. But otherwise, assume that you know enough about Troika to give it a try for the first time. They'll do kind of cats, which is setting the tone on every single game. So if it sounds like it's for you, it probably is. And when you get in there, if it's not, you can say, oh, maybe not me, and just hop out and, find another game. I don't know why it wouldn't be for you, but if all of a sudden it's a different tone than you thought it was, that's fine. Try them out, check them out. We've got some amazing GMs who are going to be running things both here on stream. So if you want to watch people play TroikaFest, we're playing tonight. We're playing again on Wednesday with an awesome team. We're playing tonight. We're doing Academies of the Arcane. On Wednesday, we're doing So You've Been Thrown Down a Well. We're playing that with Fiona and with the creator, Madeline Ember. We're just super excited to be able to showcase both main Melsonian Arts Council projects as well as third-party creations in Troika. And I'm just so grateful to Melsonian for being open to Dan, like for saying those yeses as we were going through, because this was all an experiment, and we want people to be able to try and explore Troika, and we want a different type of online event, because online cons are a logistic nightmare and a pain and take a lot of heavy lifting. But saying, hey, what if we all just played the same game this week, has a great human global feel to it that's really easy to hop in. And so if you need something, hit me up at +1exp on Twitter. I'll respond as quickly as I can. If you're not on Twitter, you can hit us up on any of the 3 major social media platforms, and then the 4th secret one that you don't know about, you can also go to and use that one. But real quick, guys, again, tell people where they can find you. Brian, where can people find you online?
At Goatman's Goblet on Twitter and goatmansgoblet.com for my blog. Also raykelzine.com for my other blog. Both long neglected. Too much work on my plate.
And then, Luke, where can people find you?
Best bets Twitter, just at Luke Gearing, and there's a link to the blog and whatnot on there.
Awesome. And then, Dan, where can people find you, and where can people find out more information about Troika?
They can find out more on TroikaRPG.com, and they can see our bits and bobs at Milsonia.com, and I think it's Melsonian Arts on Twitter. If you just look for Melsonia, we're pretty much the only people with that name. You'll find everything.
And I'm going to go ahead and pick winner. We are looking for somebody who's on stream right now. So if this person doesn't respond in the chat, then I'm going to pick a different winner. So respond in the chat quickly if you're watching this. I already hit pick winner. You can find us at +1exp across all social media platforms. Oh, man, that person's on. Congratulations, Riley. Riley just won a copy. Riley, reach out to me if you've already got the core book of Troika. We'll figure out another one for you, maybe that you don't have already. But go ahead and shoot me a message anywhere that you and I are connected, because I think that's all the social media platforms. And so, but you can find us at +1exp across all social media platforms. Everything we do at +1exp.com. Tonight, we're going to be streaming Academies of the Arcane. Tomorrow, Dan and I are sitting down to talk about Troika design, what questions it was answering. We're going to talk about that personal quality, which is going to be great if you want to do something in the jam to get an insight from Dan into what went into this creative process. And I also, again, I love the way that Melsonia operates as a company. I love the way that they lean into bigger conversations in this amazing way. And so I'm super excited to kind of pick Dan's brain about any number of things that we'll tomorrow, or answer your questions. That'll be at 3 p.m. We have some open games happening on other nights. Like I said, Wednesday we're doing So You've Been Thrown Down a Well, and there's afternoon conversations for most of the week. And then on Friday, we're going to be designing that. If you haven't yet, go follow both at +1exp and at Melsonian Arts on Twitter, and then retweet the whatever the giveaway tweet is on Sunday on our final stream with David. We're gonna give away 4 copies of different Troika books, along with a set of Troika Pogs designed by Aaron King, which I should hold up so that everybody can see them. Aaron's going to be playing with us tonight. This is Aaron's Troika Pog set that's been absolutely phenomenal. There's actually 3 different sets of Pogs, so there's 18 total, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Aaron will be on tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about that. along with some other stuff, including Riley, who just won, has made some Troika D6s that we're going to give away a copy, a set of also too for that. So if you haven't gone to just retweet and let people know that you're coming to TroikaFest, please do. All it takes to be part of TroikaFest is at sometime in the next weekish, play, make, or do something related to Troika. If you need a copy of that, you can go to ttrpg.link/gettroika to check it out right there and get a digital copy right away, or go to any number of places to check out where you can buy a physical copy online. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and log off. It's been an absolutely great opportunity to sit down with these three awesome folks and just talk a little bit about Troika. We will see y'all. I'll see you tonight. Dan and I will see you tomorrow. You have to track down Brian and Luke and hunt them down and wrestle them to the ground in order to steal their powers. But thank you all so much for joining us here on stream.
Yeah, thank you for having us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us.